when I was looking at a career, I knew I wanted to help people, but I didn't exactly know how. And about the time that I was getting toward that decision-making time in high school, my mom got disabled with her multiple sclerosis. And she also was very sick with Graves' disease. So I really saw how her interactions with doctors and the pharmacy was impacting her. And also, they basically gave us as the only hope to keep her out of a wheelchair is medicine. So my thought was better living through chemistry. I want to learn everything I can about, pharmacology, biochemistry, and be able to help people like my mom. So I went into pharmacy, and I immediately got a job in a local community pharmacy. And I went to pharmacy school. And when I got out of pharmacy school, I was so excited because I learned all this cool stuff about medications and how they bypass things that go wrong in the body and they fix it, and it was super interesting, amazing. I did really well with it, and I couldn't wait to apply what I learned. So I actually initially wanted to specialize in psychiatric pharmacy and, with things that dealt with neurology, because I thought, what better way to help somebody than to help restore their sanity and their nervous system function through medications. But then I did an internship where I spent some time on the psych ward, and I decided that was not an avenue for me. It definitely seemed like a lot of experimentation as opposed to really hard science, and I didn't like the outcomes I saw. It seemed like an area of hopelessness. So I said, forget that, that's not for me. I just want to work with average people in the community. So I got a job in a retail pharmacy in a drugstore, or rather in a grocery store. And I thought, okay, this is cool, I'm going to help day-to-day people. But then I started noticing, wow, more than a quarter of the prescriptions we fill are psychiatric drugs. And these aren't special watered-down ones for the community. These are the same drugs that people are getting in the psych ward. We have general public taking loads of things like antipsychotics, anxiety medications. So that was a shock to me. But my real aha moment was I'd been practicing as the pharmacist for about close to 3 years. And it was a late evening at the pharmacy, and this mom called me. And I knew her, I saw her every month. And she was crying. And I said, what is happening? And she says, my son is crying and shaking and is saying he's going to kill himself. And I don't know what to do. We're holding him down. And this was a 15-year-old kid, and I was looking through his chart, and I realized, oh my gosh, he actually is 3 days late for his refill on his ADHD medication. I believe it was Metadate. And so I told her, oh my gosh, I think he's in withdrawal, because when you withdraw off of those, they're very strong. So it's similar to amphetamine withdrawal from a street drug. And so I told her, this is a very dangerous situation. If he has a reaction to missing a couple doses of that, this severe, it's a problem. He needs to get off of it. But right now he's in crisis. We got to get him to the emergency room. So I went to the emergency room, and they got him out of the situation. And then I called her. I was trying to follow up because we had this great plan for, talking to the doctor and getting him off the medication. So I couldn't get a hold of her, and then a month later, she shows up at the pharmacy with the same prescription for the same drug at the same dose. And I asked her, what about the plan? She said, well, he stabilized after they got him back on the medication. So I talked to the doctor, and he just wants him to stay on it and just not miss any doses. And I did not find that acceptable. Because here's this kid that's on a drug that could potentially make him suicidal just by missing it for a couple of days. And, what is this doing to his nervous system long term? And I was in a situation where I feel the medication. If I don't feel it, he could kill himself. If I do feel it, I feel like I'm playing a role in this long-term hamster wheel of being in potential danger for the rest of his life. But I had to fill it because that was my job and that was the law. So I filled the prescription. But then I decided in that moment, this is not what I wanted to do with my life, and this is not the kind of pharmacy I want to practice. I want to help people get well. I don't want them to maintain a level of disease on dangerous mind-altering drugs. I want them to find solutions. So I decided to quit, and I did. So I quit my job. I had no idea of what I was going to do. I had no contacts. I had a mountain of student loan debt, and I just said, forget it. I quit. I'll find a better way. So that's when, probably about a month later, I found out about the Nutritional Healing Center by chance, and I got a job here, and I decided I would follow the doctors around and see everything that they did, and it wasn't long after that I decided this is what I want to do. So I've been a practitioner here ever since. I knew I wanted to do something different, and I knew there had to be better ways. So I started researching nutrition, diet, supplements before I found out about the Nutritional Healing Center. But it wasn't really something I was married to until I got a job here just to observe. I figured I'll test the waters, I'll figure it out, and see if this might be something I could do. But I wasn't excited yet, really. So I was following Dr. Schmidt in one of his visits, and I remember there was this little old lady, and she had rheumatoid arthritis, and her knuckle was this thick. And she was so excited to see Dr. Schmidt, and she said, yeah, I don't have any arthritis pain at all anymore. They don't hurt at all. And I am standing there like, are you kidding me? Her knuckle's this big. And in pharmacy school, I learned that with rheumatoid arthritis, all you can really do is put someone on immune modulating drugs and pain medication, because that's forever. There's no solution. And then here she's saying, I'm not taking medicine and I'm not in pain anymore because I'm not eating sugar. And that's when the light bulb went off, when I was like, oh my God, if someone can heal from that and not have pain, then anything is possible. And that's what I want to do. As someone who has been sick my whole life, it was a real turning point for me to do a program here. Because initially I thought, I just want to learn how to help other people, and I didn't really think I could get that much better. And at the time I quit pharmacy, I was actually wondering how long I was going to make it before I was disabled like my mom. And I wasn't even 30 years old yet. So I had a horrible immune system, a lot of autoimmune symptoms that were never able to be diagnosed, arthritis that was terrible since the time I was 7 and debilitating, migraine headaches. The list actually goes on, and I don't often talk about it because I feel like no one would believe me if they knew all the diagnoses I had had. So I started the program, and I didn't really have that high of hopes for myself, but it wasn't long after I started changing my diet and taking supplements that I realized these things that have plagued me my whole life and even taken me out of action or socializing or work were getting better. And I felt the best I'd felt in my entire life. And here, it's been about 10 years since I started here, and I get better and better every year. I still have long-term health things I'm working on, but fundamentally, I get stronger and healthier all the time. And from someone who comes from a family with severe autoimmune disease, it's a miracle. As someone who has had a lot to deal with their own health, and also someone who highly believed to the point that they got a career in better living through chemistry, I want to tell you that the answer is actually better living through biochemistry. So there's limited amounts of solutions with conventional medicine. Anytime you take a drug to bypass the natural functions of your body, it's going to come packaged with other effects that are undesirable, or also known as side effects. There is a price to pay for doing that. But when you go the natural route and you actually give your body the fuel it needs and the components it needs to do all of the functions it needs to do, then it has an amazing ability to heal and repair. So instead of maintaining a level of disease, you can heal and repair your body.